The sniper lay prone on a small rise, his eyes locked on the town below. Through the scope of his rifle, he could see the landing strip, still smoldering from the alien craft that had touched down moments ago. The once bustling town now stood frozen in fear, its inhabitants gathered in a hushed crowd, their faces pale with dread. They had every reason to be afraid. The invaders had proven ruthless, and any hint of resistance was met with merciless annihilation. From his vantage point, the sniper's gaze settled on the alien supervisor, a towering figure encased in shimmering armor, surrounded by its elite guards. Their interlocking shields formed an almost impenetrable barrier as they escorted the leader toward the newly erected production facility. The sniper's crosshairs hovered over the alien's head, the distance a hair over 900 meters. He should have felt something, anger, hatred, even fear, but there was nothing. Only the cold focus of a man who had lost everything. 3 months ago, this place had been a symbol of normalcy. Now, it was a battlefield, the site of a massacre that had begun the moment the aliens descended from the sky. The world had been unprepared for the first contact, believing the day of meeting another intelligent species would be one of hope and unity. Instead, it had been the harbinger of devastation. The aliens arrived in twin ships, sleek and ominous, and without warning, unleashed hell upon Earth. Kinetic penetrators ripped through military installations like paper, while antimatter bombs vaporized cities in blinding flashes. Capitals fell in quick succession: Washington, Moscow, Beijing, all rendered into craters before anyone could comprehend the scale of the attack. Humanity's leaders, those who survived the initial strikes, were forced to surrender. The invaders took control, imposing their will with an iron fist, and Earth became a resource colony overnight. Resistance was not only expected but inevitable. At first, it was fierce. Militants in the Middle East, accustomed to fighting for their land, were the first to strike back. ISIS launched an attack on a rare earth extraction site in Afghanistan, believing themselves invincible in their knowledge of the terrain. But these were not human adversaries. The aliens did not hesitate to level entire villages to eliminate a handful of insurgents. Tens of thousands of lives were snuffed out in a matter of hours, the sands of Afghanistan stained with blood and ash. The resistance learned quickly that their weapons were useless. The alien shields rendered them little more than an annoyance before the inevitable slaughter. The sniper knew all of this. He had seen the reports, heard the whispers of what had happened in Afghanistan, in Europe, in Africa. He had felt the losses, the same as everyone else. But he had also been trained to suppress those feelings, to compartmentalize his emotions until they were needed, if they ever were. He watched the alien supervisor continue its march toward the facility, flanked by its guards, their shields gleaming in the sunlight. The sniper adjusted his aim by the smallest fraction, accounting for the breeze that had begun to stir. Then, a distant explosion tore through the air. The sniper's eye remained glued to the scope, even as the ground shook beneath him. The blast was the signal. The attack had begun. From their hidden positions, human fighters opened fire, unleashing a barrage of bullets and explosives at the alien invaders. The gunfire was a futile gesture. Human weapons couldn't penetrate the alien shields, but it served its purpose, to distract. As chaos erupted below, the sniper took a slow, measured breath. The world around him faded into silence. All that remained was the scope, the target, and the weight of the trigger beneath his finger. In a fraction of a second, the bullet would travel the 957 meters to its mark. The sniper pulled the trigger. The rifle kicked back against his shoulder, but the sniper remained steady, watching through the scope as the bullet reached its destination. The alien shield flickered as the tungsten penetrator slipped through, its magnetic field briefly distorting the barrier. Then, the shot struck home, punching through the alien supervisor's chest and erupting out the other side. The towering figure wavered for a moment before collapsing, its body crumpling to the ground. The guards scrambled, their once impenetrable formation shattered by the single shot. But the sniper didn't wait to see what happened next. He was already moving, retreating into the brush, his mind focused on the next step, the next mission. There would be time for reflection later. For now, he needed to disappear. The sniper's escape route was meticulously planned. Each movement was deliberate, each breath controlled. He slid down the small rise, his body low to the ground, blending into the landscape. The muffled chaos from the town below reached his ears, panicked shouts, the crackle of gunfire, the distant rumble of alien weapons, but he blocked it out. His focus was on the drainage ditch ahead, the narrow passage that would lead him safely away from the scene. As he reached the edge of the ditch, he paused, scanning the surroundings for any sign of pursuit. The air was thick with tension, but the sniper remained calm. He had survived too many close calls to let fear slip in now. His training, honed over years in the military, had prepared him for moments like this. But it wasn't just training that kept him composed, it was something deeper, a numbness that had settled into his bones since the invasion began. Sliding into the ditch, he crawled through the narrow, damp tunnel, the weight of his rifle a comforting burden on his back. The darkness enveloped him, a stark contrast to the blinding light of battle just moments ago. Here, in the cool, shadowed confines, he could think, plan his next move. The mission had been a success, but there was no time for celebration. The death of the alien supervisor was only the beginning. Reaching the end of the tunnel, the sniper emerged into a secluded grove, hidden from view by dense foliage. He stood slowly, muscles aching from the crawl, and took a moment to survey his surroundings. The grove was silent, save for the distant hum of alien machinery in the town. He was alone, just as he had been for most of these past few months. The resistance had dwindled, their numbers thinned by relentless assaults and betrayals. Those who remained were scattered, fighting small skirmishes wherever they could, trying to make a dent in the alien occupation. But he was not entirely without allies. He reached into his pocket, pulling out a small, encrypted communicator. A flick of a switch, and a familiar voice crackled through the static. "Is it done?" The voice was low, strained. "It's done," the sniper replied, his tone flat. "Supervisor's down. No sign of retaliation yet, but it's only a matter of time." There was a pause on the other end, followed by a sigh of relief. "Good. We're gathering intel on the next target. Rendezvous at the usual spot in 24 hours. Understood." The sniper ended the transmission and pocketed the device, his mind already shifting to the next operation. Each mission was a step closer to reclaiming what had been lost, but he knew the path ahead was fraught with danger. He took one last look at the grove before slipping into the forest beyond. The foliage swallowed him, erasing any trace of his presence. The sniper moved with the ease of a ghost, unseen and silent, but the weight of the war pressed heavily on his shoulders. He had become a weapon, sharp, unfeeling, and precise. Yet, somewhere deep within, a flicker of something human remained, buried beneath the layers of steel he had forged around his heart. As he disappeared into the trees, the distant sounds of battle faded, leaving only the rustle of leaves and the quiet promise of the next confrontation. The sniper knew this war was far from over, and he would be there for every battle, every shot, until either the invaders were gone, or he was. The rendezvous point was a derelict warehouse on the outskirts of the town, a relic from before the invasion. The sniper arrived under the cover of night, slipping through the shattered windows like a shadow. The building was a maze of rusted machinery and forgotten debris, but the sniper navigated it with ease. He had spent enough time here to know every corner, every hiding spot. Inside, a small group of resistance fighters huddled around a flickering lantern. Their faces were a mix of weariness and resolve, etched with the scars of countless battles. As the sniper approached, one of them, an older man with a grizzled beard and a harsh gaze, looked up and nodded. "You made it," the older man said, his voice gravelly from years of barking orders. He was known as the commander, a title earned through both respect and necessity. "Wasn't sure you'd pull it off." The sniper shrugged, his expression impassive. "The shot was clean. Supervisor's down. But they'll retaliate soon. We need to be ready." The commander grunted in acknowledgement and turned to a woman beside him, her face hidden beneath a hood. "Sasha, show him what we found." Sasha stepped forward, pulling a small device from her bag. It was alien in design, sleek and metallic, with glowing symbols etched into its surface. She handed it to the sniper, who examined it with a practiced eye. "We intercepted this transmission an hour ago," Sasha explained, her voice measured and calm. "It's some kind of communication device. We believe it's linked to the aliens' command structure. If we can decode it, we might get a glimpse into their strategy, or even their next move." The sniper's grip tightened around the device as he considered the implications. If they could anticipate the aliens' actions, they might finally gain the upper hand, turning the tide of the war. But he also knew the risks. The aliens were technologically superior in every way, and if they discovered the resistance was tampering with their communications, the retaliation would be swift and brutal. "It's dangerous," the sniper said, his voice low. "If they catch on, they'll wipe us out." "They're already trying," the commander replied, a grim smile tugging at his lips. "We don't have much to lose." The sniper's mind raced as he weighed their options. The war had already taken so much from him, his family, his friends, his home. But if this device could provide even a sliver of hope, it was a risk worth taking. He nodded, slipping the device into his pocket. "I'll take it to our tech team," he said. "They'll know how to handle it." The commander clapped him on the shoulder. "Good. But be careful. They'll be watching." As the meeting dispersed, the sniper lingered for a moment, staring out into the night through a broken window. The darkness outside was thick, oppressive, a constant reminder of the enemy's presence. Yet beneath the weight of the war, a spark of determination flickered within him. The battle was far from over, but now they had a tool, a weapon that might just turn the tide in their favor. The sniper pulled his hood up, ready to disappear into the night once more. The trap was tightening around them, but this time, they were the ones setting it. As he stepped into the shadows, he felt the burden of his mission, knowing that the next move would be critical, and the fate of humanity might hinge on it. And so, the sniper vanished into the darkness, his mind already on the next mission, the next shot, the next chance to strike back. The war was far from over, but the resistance was far from defeated.